I'm often asked what prompted me to start Parkinson Voice Project. Most people assume that I must have had a family member diagnosed with the condition, but that's not the case. My interest in speech-language pathology in general came from the fact that I was born with a cleft palate and had many years of speech therapy as a child, even as a teenager. And I really struggled with my speech until, believe it or not, I started providing intensive speech therapy to people with Parkinson's. The treatment that was helping them, speaking louder and with intent, helped me produce clear speech as well. Having a communication disorder can be devastating. About a year ago, I was at a speech pathology convention and there was a special session about communication disorders and suicide. And there were several different speakers, all with different types of communication disorders. But then a gentleman walked up to the podium and he told the audience that he had been born with a cleft palate, and how when he was younger, kids would often say, "You talk funny." And that's the same thing that happened to me. Even when I was a young professional, I remember going into a stroke patient's hospital room, and after working with the patient, his son said, "You have something funny about your speech." A communication disorder is with you at all times. You can't work, converse with family, or do anything just naturally. You have to think about it at all times. And it makes you feel about this big. And as a result, you tend not to talk as much. In 1998, I was working at a hospital treating primarily people with Parkinson's when Medicare drastically cut the reimbursement rate for speech pathology services. This was going to significantly reduce the quality of treatment available for people with Parkinson's. And without adequate treatment, these patients would lose their speaking abilities completely, end up with swallowing problems, feeding tubes, and most likely die of aspiration pneumonia. Although it was scary to resign my position at the hospital, I knew that people with Parkinson's could dramatically improve their communication skills if they had access to a two-part therapy program: intensive speech therapy followed by ongoing group support. I created the Loud Crowd, which met once a month, initially at a church, but soon moved to my living room. Once I got the Loud Crowd going, I had to figure out how to provide the intensive one-on-one therapy. I pitched my idea to a neurologist with the hope that he would include the program in his medical practice. I tried starting a private practice, but Medicare wouldn't allow a speech pathologist to charge patients 65 and older without becoming a Medicare provider. Next, I applied for a Medicare license, but Medicare wouldn't allow me to conduct the treatment in my home because it wasn't handicapped accessible. I found a church willing to rent me a room, but Medicare said I had to hire another employee to be with me at all times while I was treating the patients. But Medicare was only paying about $47 for 1 hour of speech therapy. I also tried offering the program through an already established nonprofit organization, and that worked for a short time, but then their board voted that the program was too expensive to continue. By this time, the Loud Crowd was really growing. When I held my groups, I had Loud Crowd members in my living room, dining room, breakfast room, and even in the back office. My husband and I hosted parties during the holidays and summer backyard barbecues for the Loud Crowd. We were having fun, but it was pretty hectic at times. Then one day, I was driving in the Promenade Center in Richardson, and I had this very strange feeling. And I looked up, and there was North Dallas Physical Therapy. I didn't know anything about this clinic, and I didn't have a resume or a business card with me or anything. I just walked in, and that's when I met Tamara Camphouse, the director. I told her my dilemma, and without hesitating, without even asking me for any additional information, she simply said, I have a whole back hallway of offices that I'm not using. Would this work for you? And so my Proud to Be Loud program moved into North Dallas Physical Therapy rent-free. Since this clinic was a Medicare facility, though, I ran into several problems. I had no way to treat any person who didn't have insurance, and the insurance plans of people diagnosed with Parkinson's who were under the Medicare age wouldn't cover speech therapy. It became clear that the only way to fund my two-part therapy program was to form a nonprofit organization. The problem was, I didn't know anything about starting a nonprofit, and I didn't have any money. Then in 2004, something incredible happened. I received a phone call from Jim West, a jazz musician and radio executive who had been in my Loud crowd since 1999. He said, "Samantha, listen to me carefully. I want you to take one of your treatment videos and send a letter to Marianne Sprinkle, the development director at the National Parkinson Foundation, and then call her in 2 days." Marianne and the CEO of National Parkinson Foundation ended up coming to Dallas to observe therapy, and they met 50 of my Loud crowd members. At the end of their visit, they said it was the first time they had been with that many people with Parkinson's where they could hear and understand every single person. And they asked me how they could help. It was then, with the credibility of the National Parkinson Foundation and the generosity of a group of Loud crowd families and the law firm of Carrington, Coleman, Sloman, and Blumenthal, that Texas Voice Project for Parkinson's disease was officially formed on December 13, 2005, a 501c3 nonprofit organization formed under the auspices of the National Parkinson Foundation. NPF made a 3-year commitment to help me get the program started. Marianne Sprinkle became my mentor. She taught me how to raise money, and she gave me the confidence I needed to push the organization forward. I can never thank my husband, Tamara Camphouse, Jim West, Marianne Sprinkle, Carrington Coleman, or our founding donors for the important role each of them played in starting this organization. Since 2005, it truly has been a decade of discovery. I want to thank all of our supporters who have entrusted me to lead this organization. My staff and I are so appreciative of your enthusiasm and your confidence in our abilities, and we commit that in the next 10 years, we will persist in our efforts to give every person living with Parkinson's the opportunity to regain and maintain one of life's most precious blessings, the ability to speak. I'm really looking forward to our future of intent.